Hello everybody, my name is Abhishek. I am a PhD scholar at University of Hamburg, Germany. I'm also a faculty there, and I was also a faculty with West Bengal National University of Juridical Sciences, Kolkata. I hope you are going with the other modules of e-Pathshala, of Criminology of e-Pathshala, and I am presenting one more module for this, one more topic for this module of Criminology, which is on stock market manipulation. So in this module, we'll try and understand what is stock market and how its manipulation takes place, what exactly is manipulation, and how it is structurally governed or regulated by the government authorities, which is SEBI in the present case. The four important things that we'll try and understand in this presentation is what is stock market, what is its manipulation, how it is affecting the stock market, what are its consequences, and who regulates and how they regulate the stock market manipulation. Now, the first thing, most important thing that you need to understand is what is the stock market, right? Now, first understand market. What is market? For example, let's say you have to buy a TV. So where would you go? Of course, you will go to an electronic market. You have to buy vegetable. You'll go to vegetable market, right? I mean, if you have to buy a vegetable, you will not go to the electronic market or vice versa. Similarly, if you are the one who wants to access to public capital, where would you go? Answer is stock market. The instruments that we have in the stock markets may take various forms, such as equity shares, preferential shares, debentures, convertible debentures, scribes, etc. and etc. So this is essentially a stock market where investors and those who are vying for investment both go there and try to find each other to create an enterprise or to use this money in certain enterprises or all kind of enterprises which is permitted. Now, the first thing is the definition of stock market. Stock market is an interchangeable word with stock exchange. So we need to understand what is stock market. And as I said, the word stock market, that means a market where you get to trade and deal in stock, is called stock exchange, right? For example, electronics market where you get to buy TV is electronics market, but it deals essentially with the TV and other things. That's why you call it a electronic market. Similarly, the stock market, that means the market where you deal in the stocks and everything like scribes, shares, equities, debentures, other similar instruments, is called stock exchange. So stock exchange is a market where you deal with in such things. Now, is there any legal definition? Of course, there's a legal definition, and that definition is provided under the Section 2J of Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956. And in following words, it has two limbs. That means it has two parts, A and B. Part A says any body of individuals, whether incorporated or not, constituted before corporatization and demutualization under Section 4A and 4B, or a body incorporated under the Companies Act 1956, whether under a scheme of corporatization and demutualization or otherwise, for the purpose of assisting, regulating, or controlling the business of buying, selling, or dealing in securities. That means a body of individual, whether it is incorporated or demutualized or not, if it deals with the buying, selling, and other way dealing with the securities, that place is called stock exchange. Now, the body concerned with the regulation of stock market is SEBI, right? And what is SEBI? SEBI is called Security Exchange Board of India. Security Exchange Board of India gets its authority from the Security Exchange Board of India Act 1992 and derives its mandates from the sections 11 of the Act. The Section 11 simply says that the SEBI has a mandate to regulate the affairs of investors, investment, and the investment market, right? Now, the point is that the stock market manipulation is something for which we are concerned in this presentation. So those who are interested in the stock market manipulation, they need to understand the functioning of the stock market and how the manipulation is introduced in that functioning. First and foremost, the introduction of manipulation has to be artificial, because if there is a natural reaction of the market and there's a natural downfall in the market, it will not be termed as manipulation. So any artificial, that means anything which is free, not freely governed and regulated by the market, is affecting the functioning of the stock market, it will be called stock market manipulation. Now, there have been numerous studies across the globe pertaining to the concept of stock market manipulation. And why we need to understand or study stock market manipulation? It is very simple. For example, if you want to understand stock market manipulation, you first need to understand how the stock market deals in trading of the securities. A stock market basically has two parts. One is called the primary market and another is called the secondary market. A primary market is a market where the stocks are traded for the first time. That means a company comes up with an IPO, which is called initial public offer, which is governed through the ICDR regulation of SEBI. And the companies that comes with the IPO, they offer their shares to the various subscribers, and once those offers are accepted by the companies, these subscribers becomes the shareholders, and this transactions takes place between the company offering the share and the individual investors, or it may be an institutional investor. But once this transaction is completed and the person who has become the shareholder, if he wishes to transfer the equity or the securities to someone else, then that person can sell it to any other individual. What you see, the distinction is that in the initial market, that means in the primary market, the transaction takes place between the company and the individual, whereas in the secondary market, the transaction takes place between two individuals, of which one individual is the shareholder and the another person is either interested or is willing to buy that security from that person. Because you must understand that the companies are normally prohibited from buying back their own shares. So therefore, in the secondary market, you normally find individuals trading in securities among themselves. Now, so this is the importance of the primary market and the secondary market, and this is where the trading takes place. Therefore, the manipulation essentially also takes place in this place. Now, the manipulation can also be in the primary market or in the secondary market. However, it is the secondary market where the chances of the manipulation is higher, because in the primary market, because of the strict regulation of the ICDR, where you have to appoint so many regulatory intermediaries before the shares are offered to the public, they provide a safeguard to the interest of the investors. For example, you have various investment bankers, merchant bankers, and other bodies who are appointed to simply other intermediaries who are appointed to ensure the various transactions before the IPO is completed, and these all expenses are borne by the company who is coming for IPO. Therefore, the chances of manipulation in the primary market is rather low. Therefore, the manipulation normally takes place or predominantly takes place in the secondary market, where the individuals are trading between themselves, or the stockbrokers or agents, they are trading with the individuals. And it is here that the stock market manipulation draws its focus upon. Now, as I have said, there have been numerous studies across the globe pertaining to the concept of stock market manipulation. Various international authors have studied the stock market manipulation and had defined the concept rather loosely. Few such definitions that we may subscribe to or we can look into are following. Number one, manipulation as trading in such a way, manipulation as a trading in such a way as to influence the share price to the advantage of the trader or traders. This definition is taken from Arkdev Chatterjee, Joseph H. Arian, and Robert A. Jarrow's work on market manipulation and corporate finance. So what we see in this definition, that the authors are emphasizing that manipulation in fact is a form of a trading in such a form where the traders are getting benefited and not the persons who are trading, who might be buying the shares. So they are purchasing the shares without the necessary informations or under the false impression regarding these securities, because traders have skewed the process in their own favor, which affects the natural forces in the market, right? Another definition that we can look into is given by the Palmer's Company Law 25th edition, where it defines that market manipulation is normally regarded as the unwarranted interference in the operation of ordinary market forces of supply and demand, and thus undermines the integrity and efficiency of the market. So what the Palmer is trying to define in a simple words, that market, if let to function free without trying to induce any kind of wrong information or wrong notions about a market, it will not be called an interference. So when you introduce such interference in artificial way, which are not the result of the natural market reaction, this is basically market manipulation, right? And the important thing is that this market functioning must be related to supply and demand of the securities. So which companies' securities are in demand, which companies are not in demand, why they are in demand, when they are in demand, what are the reasons behind the demand, for example, whether the company is doing good or bad, how is its financial health, how is its market credibility, and other things taken into consideration. When you try to interfere into these things unnaturally, induce it through human intervention, this is called market manipulation as far as the farmers are concerned. And this way what you do is that simply downgrade or undermine the integrity and efficiency of the market. That means then what the others are believing it to be the market are not the real market, rather an artificial illusion of the market which will burst sooner or later because it's not natural. And therefore your decision to buy or sell is also not natural, and it therefore becomes a manipulation. No, what we can deduce from these definitions is that stock market manipulation is when one tries to artificially affect the market and thereby affecting the free market behavior of it, right? And free market means as market goes, the trust of the investors, the confidence of the entrepreneurs, the demand and supply in the economy, the buying capacity, and all these are the natural forces which determines the outcome of the market. When any of such things are artificially induced or deduced or reduced, then the element of manipulation is injected in the functioning of the free market. Now, the study of the market methods of stock market manipulation have determined three kinds of manipulations, right? These are the three most recognized methodology of stock market manipulations, and they are following: action-based manipulation, information-based manipulation, and trade-based manipulation. An action-based manipulation, as the name itself is suggesting, is a manipulation where actions that changes the actual behavior or perceived value of assets. That means these are those actions that changes the actual or perceived value of the assets. So by action, by any act, you have made the other believe that the value of the asset of a company, be it goodwill, be it physical asset, be it tangible, intangible asset, any kind of asset, the actual value is not the one which is being projected or injected in the market, and people are believing that projection to be the true worth of the assets. When such kind of manipulation takes place, this is called action-based manipulation. Now, an information-based manipulation is a manipulation where it is induced by releasing false information or spreading false rumors. One might be confused that how the information-based manipulation is different from action-based manipulation. Now, in action-based manipulation, what you do, you might, for example, you may hold a particular commodity or other things which inflate the price, which is not the real value of the price, and therefore you are believing you are letting the people believe that the product is really in the shortage, whereas it is not. Right? Whereas in information based, you might not do something physically, rather you go around releasing misinformation or disinformation about the health of the company, about the product of the company, about the other matters that the company or enterprise of the securities of which are being traded through some false informations, right? So this is information-based manipulation, where the information is crucial and there is a propaganda war of misleading people. For example, there might be newspaper articles saying good things about the company or saying bad things about the company, which one reads into the newspaper and then directly subscribe to that opinion, right? So sometimes you've seen that the bogus companies has been launched, good articles have been written, great ratings have been given in the various newspaper articles, and that simply boosts the confidence of the person. This is where the information-based manipulation takes place. So if you can have a good press, you can also have a bad press. And there are other means of information as well, but that's in a nutshell, that's what is information-based manipulation, distinguishing itself from the action-based manipulation, where you do not go for necessarily the information, but rather you act something. For example, you may buy a certain amount of share and then withheld it. And then after some time, you simply release it in the market, right? So that withholding of the securities was not the natural distribution of the securities among the market players. It was unnaturally withheld by someone to inflate the prices of the securities, letting others believe that the company is doing good and therefore its security is in demand, and they buying it at the premium price. Once they get ready to buy it at the premium price, all of a sudden these securities are dumped in the market, and then the investors who buy it gets cheated with the price of the securities, because once these hoarded securities are dumped in the market, their real price falls, of course, much below than what they have bought at, right? Now the third is the trade-based manipulation. Now, what's a trade-based manipulation? It takes place when a trader attempts to manipulate a stock simply by buying and then selling, without taking any public observable actions to alter the value of the firm or releasing false information to change the price. That means it is a mix of action-based manipulation and information-based manipulation, where you employ both the action-based manipulation as well as information-based manipulation in order to convert or translate that manipulation to trade them, right? And once these things are traded, they of course create artificiality in the market, and therefore the people or the investors gets cheated through these kind of manipulation. In India, the body concerned with the stock market regulation is of course SEBI, right? The SEBI has been given the mandate to regulate the stock market. Now, the concept of manipulation essentially is to assume market power through artificial means. Thus, regulator SEBI has focused on this artificiality and its instrumentality for the manipulation purposes, right? Now, for SEBI, artificiality in the market can be induced through the instrumentality of manipulation, fraudulent behavior, or unfair trade practices. That means SEBI does not necessarily define the market manipulation as a one transaction. Rather, it sees market manipulation as a transaction of three action-based behavior of the traders or any persons dealing in the securities, which is manipulation, fraudulent behavior, and unfair trade practices. These three combined together in SEBI relates to what we are trying to understand as the stock market manipulation. So when you say for SEBI what is stock market manipulation, SEBI says that stock market manipulation is basically manipulation, fraudulent behavior, or the unfair trade practices, all of them or any of them, right? Now, Chapter 5A of the SEBI Act 1992 deals with the prohibition of manipulative and deceptive devices, insider trading, and substantial acquisition of securities control. Now, this was inserted by the SEBI Amendment Act 2002. SEBI has made more regulations in order to further its power under Section 12A. What we saw earlier, that 5A was introduced in the SEBI Act. Now SEBI has been given the power to make regulations, and then the acting under exercising its power to make regulation under SEBI Act, it has made certain regulation pertaining to the stock market. So Chapter 5A was inserted into SEBI. The title of that Chapter 5A was Prohibition of Manipulative and Deceptive Devices, Insider Trading, and Substantial Acquisition of Securities Control. Now, in addition, this was done by, of course, the Parliament, because the amendment in the statute can only be effected by the Parliament, whereas the SEBI, acting its capacity or exercising its power to make regulation, has also made certain regulation related with the manipulation of the stock market. Now, in order to further its power under Section 12A to C, the SEBI has made following regulation. The name of the regulation is SEBI Prohibition of Fraudulent and Unfair Trade Practices Relation to the Securities Market Regulation 2003. The regulation contains altogether 13 regulations dealing with the provisions such as prohibition of certain dealings in securities, which is Regulation 3, prohibition of manipulative, fraudulent, and unfair trade practices, which is Regulation 4, investigation of such prohibitive practices is Regulation 5. Then, of course, Regulation 6 and 7 deals with the powers of the investigating authority. And then Regulation 8 deals with the cooperation by the persons being investigated. And then 9 deals with the submission of the investigation report to the board. Enforcement to the board is dealt under the Regulation number 10. And then the action that board can take against an intermediary is the subject matter of Regulation 12. Now, transactions identified as manipulative by SEBI in Annual Report 2014. Because, as you know, that the board constituted under the SEBI Act have the power to investigate and to make certain conclusion about certain activities once a dispute arises, whether a particular body has acted within the spirit of the SEBI Act or not. Now, the report in 2014 and 15 collated all the informations where they came up with the data of what kind of acts so far has been or transactions has been determined as manipulative of the stock market by SEBI, and the following has been considered as manipulative of the stock market. Number 1, a company and its directors made false and misleading report of financial results. This amounted to manipulation of the price of the scrip. So what we see that when a company and its directors try to induce or try to give false and misleading information or the misleading reporting of the financial results, that is a stock market manipulation of the prices of the scrip, because we need to understand that the definition aspect include the effect of the manipulation must be felt in the prices of the scrip or the scrip of the share. Now, another example that SEBI came up with is certain group of entities purchased shares in a scrip, transferred them to a group of entities in the off market, and bought the same shares from the market, thereby creating artificial volumes. That means what they did, they bought something and then sold it to the people they knew and then again bought it from them. So it felt like that many people are buying the shares, whereas the real trading took place nowhere, because it was sold with the pre-promise of buying it back. So that was also decided to be a manipulative practice. Another example is that entities that had taken positions in call options increased the price of their script in the last few minutes of trading hours, thereby affecting the closing price of the script on the day. Thereafter, the call options were exercised after closing the market, which resulted in unlawful profit. This is also fairly self-explanatory. Certain entities entered into synchronized trades, reversal of trades, circular trades within the group, resulting in artificial volumes of price rise. So these are the examples that SEBI came up in its report, determining that these are basically what we call the manipulation of the stock market. For more detailed understanding of the same, you can go and read the e-text of the same presentation on the ePathshala module. Please don't hesitate to take help of to take our help. If you have any problem or understanding with any module, this module or any other module, we'll be more than happy to help you. I wish you luck. Thank you very much.